used to be here, if you remember that white building out front. And my dad was in construction. So one of my first summers going into 9th grade, all my mom's family was from South Florida. So I got to go down and live with my family down in Florida for the summer. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be sweet. I get to go down to Fort Lauderdale in the summer. Well, I guess geography didn't really set in and realize that being in Florida in the summer, it's like 98 with 180% humidity, and my uncle owned landscaping companies. So you wanted to get stuff done early and get out early since it was so hot. So I'm like, wow, this wasn't really a great idea. I'm getting down here, I got up at 5 o'clock in the morning and work. I made $5 an hour and I didn't get the money. I went home. Like, who signed me up for this? And so I did that for the summer. Went back, came to Jackson during the years, and then my dad, like I said, was in construction, had gravel plants. And so in the summers, I would work shoveling gravel, shoveling asphalt, doing all this kind of crap. I mean, I used to make jokes. I thought manual labor was like the president of Mexico. And so I was like, oh my God, this is awful. But I made like 10 bucks an hour, and I got to keep all the money, and I did that. So I was blessed because my mom was big in education, had her master's or PhD. Like I said, was at Jackson, and my dad was in construction. And so I kind of had both of those things. My mom's brain side of things, my dad's work ethic. And so I graduated from Jackson. I didn't have a Letterman's coat. I wasn't valedictorian. I wasn't voted most licensed to succeed. I wasn't voted most popular. I went through the motions, did what I had to do, got done, went to Miami of Ohio. The only reason I went to Miami of Ohio was because my parents told me, you gotta physically go to the school you want to go to. Like, physically show up and go check it out. So I had North Carolina, James Madison, and Miami. Well, I don't know if any of you were geography students. Miami was the closest. I was like, I'm driving, that's the easiest one we're going to, I'll show up there. I had a good time, it was fun, and if anyone's ever gone to Miami, had brothers, sisters, family there. When I went there, my junior year, they built a brand new rec center, and it was like state of the art, it had everything. It was like the coolest place to be in Miami. And so I started working there to get money in the summer, and when I went to school there, just to have money to have, because I didn't get an allowance. I wasn't some silver spoon kid where they just gave me money. I mean, I had to work what I had to do. And so I did all of that, and I found out, like, it's time to graduate almost. I'm like, I have no clue what I'm going to do with my life. I've gotten 4 years. I did all right again, got through, and was like, now what? Well, I found out that working within that recreation building, you could, like, go to graduate school and get school paid for and keep doing the same thing. So I'm like, cool, can I prolong being an adult longer? We'll do this. So I went on recruiting, did this, that, and the other, and I found out there was a school called West Florida in Pensacola, in the Panhandle. I didn't even know where it was. I'm used to Florida, Hollywood, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, never heard of it. Didn't even know it was in a different time zone. People always ask me when I went to school there, they go, where'd you go to school? I said, LA. They're like, LA? I go, yeah, it's lower Alabama. This is not Florida. But I went there and got school paid for, and it was really kind of cool, and I got my MBA. And I get my MBA, and same thing happens. I'm like, I go down there, I'm thinking I'm getting this whole program, they're taking care of me, I'm gonna go on. But like, I didn't want to go on and go into another rec center. I didn't want to, no disrespect, like I didn't want to run a YMCA, I didn't want to run the same rec center at Miami or North Carolina or Duke or Kansas or Mount Union. I wanted to go into business, but the problem was I was the first person that ever got this MBA. They gave it all to sports people. And I'm like, great. I get an MBA and I have no job. So I'm like, this is awesome. I get to move back home into my parents' unfinished basement with an MBA. Like, where is this going? And so I didn't have an answer. So I'm living in my parents' basement, and I'm like, what do I do? So I was fortunate enough at the time, which would have been 98. My dad had two brothers. One uncle had a restaurant up here. It was called Three Gringos. It was down the street from kind of between 91 and the Lizard. And then my other uncle had an auto wash. So I didn't have any idea what to do. I have an MBA, I have all this education, all these diplomas, and I'm living in my parents' unfinished basement. It was like some of a Will Ferrell movie. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So at the daytime I would go up with my uncle only had two daughters, and they were like early teens, like 10, 11, 12, 13 years old. And so he didn't really have family in the business. And the auto business, my grandfather started it, my uncle was owning it next. And then, like I said, I'd come home, go back to my apartment, I called it, or my parents' unfinished basement, and would then go work at night at my uncle's restaurant. And so I was a bartender. It was funny. I know you're all underage, but I'm sure you've been around an adult or a parent that has had a drink. And so, if someone wanted a Bud Light or like a rum and coke, I was good. But when someone come in like, yeah, I'd like a Manhattan dirty, I'm like, I don't know, you gotta go to the Lizard or Fridays, like, I don't know what I'm doing. So I kept doing all this. My mom knew Para Jones, and she was high up in administration over at Stark State. And at the time, they would let me sneak into a computer lab. And back in the late 90s, there was a thing called Monster.com. It was just like Indeed. So I had this whole resume, I put all this stuff up there, trying to do everything, getting no hits, trying to do anything in the world, figure anything out I can do in my life. Like I said, my undergrad, I got a BS, which it was BS. And I worked like with ABC Sports, ESPN, the Hall of Fame, and I was like, I had visions of grandeur for that. Now I have this MBA, I'm in my parents' basement, I'm working in the day of my auction with my uncle, at night I'm tending bar. And so I did this thing with Indeed, or with Monster.com. So I get a call one day from the Hilton in Las Vegas. And they're like, hey, we'd really like you to come out and maybe run our marketing department. And at the time, I don't know how many of you are like movie buffs, but if you ever saw the movie like Leaving Las Vegas, you would understand, like I'm thinking, I'm 21, I'm gonna move to Vegas. Like that sounds good, but I'm like, oh, this might not turn out well. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I have no friends out there, I don't know anything. So I reached out to my uncle. I'd been doing more and more with the auction. I realized he'd become real successful. I'd heard a lot about it. I actually did it when I was like 16. Like every 2 years I'd work for my dad in the summer, he'd tick me off, and I would I quit. And I would go work for someone else and realize this stunk, it was worse. And one of those worst experiences was actually at the auto auction. And so, but I was learning a lot more. It was a lot different now. And I was learning how to interact with people and learn how business went and interaction and customer service and people and get my hands on everything. And I thought it was pretty cool, and there were a lot of opportunities. And I knew that he didn't have any kids that were old enough to take this business, and there was nobody else in the family. And so I used this Hilton deal. I'm like, listen, I'm not trying to strong arm you, but I got an opportunity to kind of go somewhere and do some of my life. But this is family. I want to stay here and I want to do stuff. And so he's like, you know what, I'll commit to you, and let's see where we can go with this. And I decided, you know what, I didn't go drive to North Carolina. I always look back, what would have happened? I didn't push myself as hard to get a varsity coat and stay in sports. I didn't push myself to try to get straight A's and be all those things. I'm like, you know what, I guess better late than never. I know my dad, like I said, from teaching me all the work ethic, my mom with education, I'm like, you know, I'm gonna do something, and I'm really gonna push this. So I started learning everything about the business, every aspect of what went on. I would go up to the car wash, help clean out the cars. I would go drive to a dealership in Cleveland and go help pick them up. And I would learn and meet customers and talk, because I realized, like, you know, I don't own any of these cars. All I own, it's like, you know, it's capitalism. I get some money going in it, I get some money going out. But there's a lot of opportunities here. But I also realized, like, you know what, there's so much more out in this world than just in Canton. So I started going around, and I had an opportunity, like that conference I told you about that I got my graduate assistantship. They have the same conference in auto auctions. And so I would go out there and I'd listen to all these people that owned auctions 10 times bigger than ours. And they would do all this, and they were all around. They were flying jets, and they were making all these big deals and putting all this stuff together and meeting with Chrysler and General Motors and your local car guy. And I just kept listening to these guys. And I've always used a phrase in my life, if you want to be a millionaire, you surround yourself with them. And everyone hears that and they think money. And I'm like, no, it doesn't always mean money. It's more also about being a millionaire person. Like, I want to be the best brother I can be to my sister. I want to be the best son I can be to my parents. I want to be the best father I can be to my children, husband I can be to my wife, role model to people like this in this room, or employees I have within my business. And so I would keep going these things. I got on committees, and I would learn things, and I'd be a part of things. And I got in charge of like this leadership, and we took everyone to Disney, and we taught them all leadership, and we did all kinds of different things. So it was really cool. And I brought it back, and I took my entire auction staff. I moved up, and now I'm becoming general manager. My uncle's giving me a little bit more rope, but in family business you get a little bit, but they always want to keep you in check, which, welcome to family business. And so I took my entire staff, every employee I had at the auction, I took them to the Ritz to see customer service, to see what life is like. Not about what's fancy and high, but true levels of customer service. We went to the Broadmoor in Colorado Springs. If you've ever been out there, they are known for their customer service. And so I kept doing those things. And as I'm growing and doing this, I'm married, I have children, I have 2 boys. And so I continue to want to spend time with them, because I knew my dad in construction from March to November. He was never around, because that was the time you had to be construction. I mean, you guys see it now when you drive up and down the roads, and I always laugh that the state tree is in Ohio is that orange barrel, because that's all you see everywhere. But so I had to do all that, and I'm growing, I'm learning, I'm having all these things, and I'm spending time with my sons, and I'm getting involved. And now I'm going to be coach of the Bev and teach basketball, and I'm going to be able to be I'm going to be him, and I'm going to be Jay Rohr in youth football. But I'm having a fun time with my kids. I'm growing, I'm learning, I'm keep growing this business. And then my uncle gives me a partnership, and now I'm an owner. I'm a minority owner, but I'm an owner. I'm like 32, moving to Lake Cable where he lived, and I'm growing, I'm learning, I'm doing. And I always kind of look back to thinking about what my dad taught me, and when I was working, shoveling all that gravel, and I was working and doing all those crazy jobs and sweating my rear end off in Florida. And like I said, I wasn't valedictorian. I don't have a letterman's code, but I knew how to work. I knew how to beat someone. I've always said, if you ever read my email thread, my email signature says, I never lose, I win or I learn. And that's how I've always believed. I know half of you at now at 18 are smarter than me, but I'll bet come out with me. And that's how I always believed in myself and getting somewhere. And so I look back and I laugh because, like Zach had said, in June, I bought another auction. And so here I'm at 48 years old. I now am the president of the Ag Auto Auction. I'm the president of Value Auction. I'm the president of Jackson's football program, which is everything K through 12, and I'm fortunate enough to be on Coach Rohr's staff. And I'm the president of the basketball program, K through 12, and I'm fortunate enough to be on Coach Lebeck's staff. And I'm president of CertainOut Auto Auctions, which are 24 of like elite independent auto auctions. And I don't say all of this to brag. I'm not saying it about that. I'm just making a point of telling you that if any of you have been like me in high school, kind of went through the motions, were able to get through, get good grades, or if any of you know you could be pushing yourself a little bit more, know you still got time, but don't look back in the mirror. There's a reason that your windshield is bigger than your rear view mirror. There's a reason for that. And it's about looking forward. And I hope that all of you, if you take anything or anything I said, like, what is this guy wasting? Take from me that I'm telling you right now, especially in this environment we're in, when if you talk to your parents, you talk to relatives, you talk to administrators, coaches, dude, nobody wants to work. Nobody wants to go the extra mile. No one wants to take an extra step and go in, come in that weight room 20 minutes early, stay after and get some shots 40 minutes longer, run a little bit more when you need to, do those kind of things, spend a little extra time on that exam, go a little bit above for extra credit, but I'm telling you it's the little things, and they all add up to big things. And I wouldn't be where I was if I didn't have that work ethic, if I wasn't taught how to go about doing those things, and if I truly didn't believe in the fact that, like I said, I wasn't that person that was destined to have all this. Everyone always thinks, oh, I own your family acting auto auction. You heard my story. I had no business being in it. It wasn't because my uncle and my grandfather had it. I was just given it. I walked in and embraced it. And I went into it at 100 miles an hour. And I would tell you the same thing with closing out your high school, with getting involved in activities, sports, going to visit colleges. And when you get in there doing something, don't look back at 40 and be that guy that wants to look back or gal like what you could have done, or what you should have done, or man, I wish I would have done a little bit more. I wish I'd have worked a little bit harder. I wish I'd have given a little bit more, because you only get one chance in life. And like I said, I've never lost. I've always won or I've learned. And I wouldn't be to where I am now with, like I said, having 2 automobile auctions. I have 380 employees. And it's pretty an awesome task when I look back now and think about myself in high school, not being the most popular, not being the best in sports, not being the best academically, that now at 48, I've got 380 people that look to me to make sure they get a paycheck. They look to me to make sure they're able to put food on their table. And to me, that's a pretty awesome responsibility. And not everyone's made to want to have all of that responsibility. But I'll be the first to tell you, and I know a handful of you from basketball and other sports, the fact you're here at 7 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday tells me something. And I'm just going to tell you, no matter what you're told or where your lot in life is, make that your own career choice. Make your own path of where you're going to go, because no one's going to tell you what. And like I said, in the end, I had no clue. I was living in my parents' unfinished basement. And don't get me wrong, I'm not acting like, I lived on my own, I was homeless, I had nothing, I was under an underpass, and every day I had to do something, and I found change in dumpsters. I'm not kidding. I wasn't that needy. But in the end, I had decisions to make and decided that better late than never on getting after things and doing things. And I hope all of you realize just that. I know for the fact from just talking to Zach a little bit about this group and what you guys are, that you are driven, you are motivated, you are going to make differences and do something. Don't let anyone get in your way of doing that, and don't settle for being average. I'm a firm believer that there's a reason I was put on this earth that's to be great. And it's not arrogant, it's not egotistical, it's because I want to be great. I hope all of you do the same thing. Continue to be great. If you ever need anything, I'm a big fan of giving back, being a part of this community, and doing what I can do to help people. Ever need a business card, ever need a reference, ever need a summer job or an internship, I'm always there. I've done it before with a lot of kids. I'm all about giving people opportunities, because I know I was given summer and I wouldn't have been where I was without those opportunities. So I appreciate you guys. I appreciate Zach letting me come to speak. I'm sure you'd much rather get back and enjoy class for the rest of the day and go about your work. Thanks again for everything, and have a great day. Yeah, anyone have any questions?
Anybody got a question?
Seriously,
it's too early.
Yeah, I got $50 from you. Yeah, that's why I figured I wouldn't make this short and then leave it open to Q&A, or I'd be sitting there talking to myself. So
the only thing that I'll kind of reiterate that he said at the end, I mean, he's spot on about taking opportunities. You know, I just see it in my own kind of career, and maybe this is why he's maybe always taken care of me. You know, I feel like over the past kind of 5-6 years, I've kind of just put myself out there to say yes to things that probably a decade ago I would have said no to be honest with you. And this is, the gospel true there. I mean, he's a guy, I can call him at 4:30 in the morning. He's going to pick up, and we had a fire last year at the beginning of summer with our youth football camp, and he was able to help put the fire out on that phone call at 4:30 in the morning. I mean, the guy would run through a brick wall for Jackson, our student athletes, our coaches, our administrators. I mean, a guy that just gives back, and I know for myself it is very appreciative, so thank you. But
no, it's
anything else for Chad?
Cool.
All right, on the way out, I will take the sign-out sheet. I know the donuts are down here. If somebody wants to grab those and put them out on the first table. Have a great rest of the year. And spring athletes, good luck this spring. Thank you, guys.
Sorry, how do you remember it?
You're just mad because you got replaced by her.
Actually, the number's pretty private.
Enjoy, brother.